In our culture, everything is based on success. But what is success? Who defined it? Who decided that success was the goal instead of fulfillment? What happens if we shake up that definition? What if we make our own definition of success? My name is Tony Grebmeyer, and on this podcast, I'm going to dig deep into the real stories behind success. Join me as I interview other entrepreneurs who've climbed up Success Mountain and have come back down to share their stories so you can succeed. If you're ready to join a community of other entrepreneurs redefining success and finding fulfillment, go to BeFulfilledLife.com and join the community. Now, let's dive into today's show. Hey, it's Tony Grebmeyer. Welcome to the Be Fulfilled Show. It's a solo episode. Hope to return to live interviews right after the Thanksgiving break. One thing I just want to talk to you about is just gratitude. Thanks. Thanks for putting up with these solo shows. Hopefully you're enjoying them and getting some great kind of insight. You know, one of the things that I love doing on the podcast is the fulfillment round, the things that come at the end that allow us to kind of learn a little bit more about the guests we're interviewing. Not the just generic stuff, but the stuff that nobody really knows, right? And so hopefully on these solo episodes, you're learning a little bit about me, a little bit more about what I'm up to in the world, and hopefully how we can connect and make a bigger impact. So I got back Monday, slept in my bed, saw my dogs, kissed my wife, and did some laundry and took off the next day, this Tuesday, for Salt Lake City and up to Deer Valley for the War Room Mastermind. So the people who put on Digital Marketer and Traffic and Conversion have a mastermind kind of around what they do. And it's awesome. There's over 200 members. They meet 3 to 4 times a year. And we happen to be meeting this time at Deer Valley. And it was just great. One of the things that I wanted to do was meet a gentleman who I had on the podcast. If you haven't heard about John Ruhlin from Giftology, go back and listen to that. We'll put it in the show notes. Incredible. If you run a corporation, a business, and you even have somewhat of a budget for a gifting program, maybe when somebody comes onto your team, corporate gifts around the holidays, whatever it may be, John told me I was doing it wrong. And I said, what? But first I read the book, Giftology, got a chance to interview him on the podcast. I was fascinated by him. I wanted to see him. And then got a chance to meet him this past week at Deer Valley. And I got to tell you, what a phenomenal speaker, somebody just passionate about what he does, passionate about helping people to make a bigger impact in the world and do it through gifting, but not do it through transactional, like, hey, you get a sign up, you get this, or, like even Christmas, he's like, there's a black hole for me from Thanksgiving until the first of the year because, everybody gets a gift at Christmas. And if you've ever been to a corporate office around the holidays, you'll notice like wine club baskets. You'll see like cheese platters and all this other stuff. And it doesn't really carry a lot of weight. It's just something that you receive. And I don't want to give away what he talks about, but I want to tell you, if you have a moment and you want to learn how to make a bigger impact with your gifting program, pick up Giftology, learn from John, master at the whole gifting game. But the things that I learned at the mastermind are the things that I want to talk to you about today, which is, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, we're go, go, go. And we got to check our pulse. We got to figure out what it is that we're doing all of this for. And I was talking to Jim Dew, great guy, really helped like planning and financial strategies. And we were talking and it was like a kind of a aha moment for me. He had lost his mom earlier this year. He's been married to his wife, Mimi, for 31 years. He was sharing a story about his dad. I believe his dad is like 91. And I thought that was more of an impact for me, learning about people, than anything that anybody's going to teach you on any stage in the world. Is just 2 people who were strangers, but because of people like Sean Stevenson, who passed not too long ago, and Jim lives in Scottsdale, we started talking about Sean, and he was sharing stories about, hey,
Sean sent me this message, and I was like, hey, I think Sean was wearing that same shirt. Maybe even the same day he sent me this message. And then we started talking, and I was like, oh, by the way, I have a journal. I'd love to give it to you. Sean wrote the foreword to the journal. And so we just started like talking. See, people at masterminds are real human beings. They're not just like the flashy people that make all the money and have all the nice things. They're humans. And at the end of the day, for me, the business transactions in life and everything that I do is all about connection. If you can build a connection, it's not like I'm calling them up to be my financial guy yet. It's more that I'm really excited and interested to meet a new friend, meet his wife. They've been married 30 plus years, just to see the joy, the sparkle. And he's there learning how he can do a better job, how he can, maybe bring on clients better, how he can work them through the process of onboarding, how he can then introduce other products and services to him, to their clients. So for me, I go to like an event like Traffic and Conversion or Affiliate Summit or Affiliate World or wherever it may be. And everybody's like, hey, what new business are you bringing back to the company? And I'm like, whoa. Personally, I think you build a friendship first and an opportunity to grow. And if that thing can happen, turn into business, that's a blessing. And that's a total thing that doesn't happen every single day. So stop going out trying to make a sale when you meet people. Just try to get to know people. And if this message sounds a little similar to what we were talking about in previous solo episodes, it's in alignment with my soul's purpose, right? You got to find meaning and purpose when you meet with people. You got to understand what they're up to. And then you got to figure out how maybe you could help them, because everybody has a need. And the problem is we're not asking the people that we're meeting, what is the biggest need they need in their life? If I could make that happen for them, or if I could make an introduction for them, what would that be like for them? And then get them to live in that space, that moment where they're really talking about, like, if they had that, this is what it would be like, and my life would be different. That's how I've been able to work to build Ship Offers, how to build businesses in the past, is I'm about relationships. And I want you to know more than anything in this world, if you stop trying to lead with your wallet and start leading with your heart, everything will begin to be better. You flip that around, if you lead with your heart fills up and so does your wallet, because it's different. I'm not trying to make a sale. I'm trying to make a connection. If that connection can lead to an introduction that I can help them meet somebody who potentially could help them, down the road, they're going to come back and say, hey, Tony, that was so awesome that you introduced me to blank. Hey, I was thinking, you mentioned supplements. Could you talk to me a little bit more about Ship Offers and what you do? And, I run a big digital marketing list. I've got this big company has a lot of products in the health space, but I never thought about launching a physical product. And I got to tell you, I could have made this introduction like 8 years ago. You just got to be a nice person to people. You got to take care of them and help them. And then you check on that person, even though they're not buying from you. And, I have good reminders built into how I do stuff. It's called, when I think of that person and it pops up, I reach out and tell them I was thinking of them. I don't put it in like my calendar. I don't put it in like my pipe drive automation. I do it because if you're surrounded by good people, good things happen. And I want you to know, wherever you're at today, from John Ruhlin's gifting program to, meeting people and getting to know people, like just talking to Jim Do, like within 30 seconds of not knowing each other, we were instantly connected. And from there, the night before, I didn't realize that I had met his wife, and then I was sharing that, and he was sharing more, and we were just talking and laughing and having a good time. And I realized like we were almost at tears because we were talking about somebody who made such a big impact in our life, Sean Stevenson, who just loved us and loved thousands, if not millions of people around the world because he cared. He made the main thing the main thing. Be nice to people. Just do nice things for people and watch how good things happen to those people. So I'm telling you, wherever you're at today, whatever program it is that you're thinking about launching and rolling out, think more about the long term, not the quick buck. Don't think about like, well, if I get this, I'll get that. Nope. If you could help somebody today to overcome an objection or an obstacle, something that's like in their way, and you could break down that wall for them, and you could make an introduction, and you could lead that person into a new space. You could get that person an intro to Richard Branson. What would that do for that person? Man, I could open this whole thing. Did you know that Richard has all this over here, this charitable programs and this and this and this? And you never know, you're one person away from a whole new network. So as I was sharing with Jim and telling him about Sean and what Sean did for me and this, he was sharing about what Sean did for me. And then he was talking to me about his wife, Mimi, and how she's on the board of Genius Recovery. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my new journal that Anna David and I worked on, we're actually going to give a portion of it to Genius Recovery, but I've never really sat down and formalized any of that. I just want to have a gifting program in our new journal. He's like, oh my gosh. And then right after we met, ran up to Mimi and said, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were doing Genius Recovery. And she's like, oh yes. And I'm like, hey, I'd love to figure out how to talk more to Joe Paula. She's like, oh, I can help you. And that's why you're nice to people. That's why you meet people and start talking, not because you need something, because at the end of the day, Jim got to share one of the most magical moments. Story about his mom, who he lost earlier in the year. Story about his dad, Alzheimer's. And I was able to share with him that my dad passed a couple of years ago from Alzheimer's. And I gave him a suggestion that my son gave to me that it was a little too late, but I loved. So I want to share it and close this episode with you. I didn't get to ask my dad a lot of questions during his time with Alzheimer's. And so I don't have anything other than the memories I've got or stories that I remember about my dad's life, his upbringing, the things that he experienced, the things he did, the businesses he ran, etc. But Owen, who is my youngest, had mentioned to me, and I even did an episode about this like a long time ago. He said, you know, Dad, it would have been so cool if you could have recorded a conversation with your father. And so we were able to do that recently for my wife, Amber, and her dad. We brought her dad into the studio, hooked up the mic, gave him some headphones, and she just started interviewing and I'm asking questions. So I gave him that suggestion. I said, hey, Jim, you know, if it's not something you haven't done, maybe you could do it, is like, just ask your dad some questions. He's like, oh my gosh, in my book that I wrote, I tell a story about my dad. And then I was able to give that to my dad. And my dad's like, hey, I think that story is about me. The impact you have in getting people to talk is unbelievable. So start asking better questions. Watch how things begin to change. Remove yourself from you needing to be the life of the party and just start going to parties. From you needing to always be talking in a meeting, start listening to a meeting, and then pull some people aside and say, hey, you know what? Thanks for sharing that today. How's life really going for you? Is there anything I can do for you? How can I help you today? And realize people at the core of who they are hiding their genius because they're afraid of people really knowing who they are. So my job, what I believe I was put on this planet to do, is to love on people and help them, get them to where they want to go and grow as a human myself. So thanks for listening today. I hope you've enjoyed this solo episode. It's hit record. It's me sitting and walking, talking outside. There's no high quality microphone. It's me and my iPhone and you. And I hope this made an impact. And if it did, share it. Leave me a review on iTunes, wherever you listen to this podcast today. Drop me a line. I'd love to hear from you. And I just want to say thanks for being on this journey with me. It's amazing we get to do life together. Go make today the absolute best day of your life.
Thanks for listening to today's show. But before you go, let me ask you a question. How would you like to be the architect of your journey in this game we call life? Take the next step now at www.tonygrubmeyer.com. Enter your details to get the first week of the Be Fulfilled Journal for free. It includes access to our private community of thousands of other entrepreneurs. It'll give you more clarity and freedom in your day. And it might just change your life forever.